All right, hello, 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 and welcome to Generating Momentum. Tonight will be about an hour, and I'm just going to dive right into it. We will share my screen. Will I? Yes, I will. It's just all being hidden. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I'm Christy Abel, and I am here to help. I am your mindset and manifestation coach here at the Spirit Essence Collective. And first, as always, I would like to do a territorial acknowledgement. So before we begin this class, I would like to acknowledge and appreciate the traditional territory of the Tsawwassen and Musqueam First Nations, where I work, play, and live. I do indeed live in Tsawwassen, and I love it here. I express gratitude to the Coast Salish community and all the Hookiminim speaking people who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial. I would also like to offer my respect to all the elders who have gone before us and First Nations people who are with us today. Okay, so who am I and why did I decide to change? Okay, I have a master's degree in counseling psychology and I've been a counselor since 2009. Very exciting. I have just left my 21-year career in education to launch a private practice, to be a manifestation and mindset coach, as well as to launch my company, Rethink Sex Education Inc., which will, the rubber hits the road for that in August, even though my website is set up and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I am mom of two delightful feminist boys with my partner, Ben. I started my spiritual awakening about 2 years ago. I was just explaining to Nicole that I started with a Deepak Chopra, but 21-day abundance meditation, and going from 50 grand in debt in January 2020 to zero debt in November 2020 had me believing in the powers of the universe, right? I am also a daily meditator. Always first thing in the morning, my routine is that I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I meditate I usually do a guided meditation for 10 to 15 minutes and then do about 15 minutes on my own, just music. And now I'm finding I'm meditating several times a day, and before bed as well, falling asleep to it, that kind of stuff. I'm hooked. I'm hooked on meditation, and I hope that you will be too. Although I don't think I focus too much on that in this. My spirit feels very free outside. Running, although I have to say my knees are bugging me this week and I'm wondering if the elliptical is the way to go. Skiing, tennis, horseback riding on the trails. I love my horse so much. He's 32 years old and he is one of the lights of my life alongside my family. I also love coaching and being coached, and I see guidance from multiple sources. And I like to call it spinning the wheel. Whatever I'm feeling that day, I will spin the wheel in, I'll put something in, like in YouTube or on Spotify, and spin the wheel and see where it lands, what seems to fit with my schedule, like time wise. I mean, I'm not gonna, if I only have 15 minutes, I'm not gonna listen to something that's 45 minutes. Anyways, but I do seek guidance from multiple sources, as well as actual human beings, not just things on, with Tardana being one of my main mentors. I also have a lot of automated habits, which we're going to talk about today. Okay. I do have some I'll start tomorrow mentality, especially when it comes to food and alcohol. And I will share some of my stories today as well. Okay. So why do people feel stuck? So the purpose of this is to understand stuckness, right? So people feel stuck in their lives. And here's the number one thing. If you feel you're stuck, you're stuck. Like it's true. It's that simple. And it can be as complicated as that. Now we have to remember that our thoughts create our situation. They frame how we see the world. And they're the foundation of where you are and I am right now. I am in a space of immense momentum right now, but it all came with starting with the first step, right? So it's easy to use your thoughts to create a convenient narrative why you can't go anywhere. Our brains are I'm very into neuroplasticity. We'll dive into this a little bit later. The brain is fascinating to me, and I have managed to change mine significantly over the last 5 years since I started delving into personal development. Okay, the problem with thinking is that it's not true. Neuroplasticity is the science. Okay, it's relatively new, about 20 years old. It was actually created by Canadian. Your brain can change itself. So what you put into it is extremely important. 95% of the thoughts that we have today, we had yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. And unless you put something new into your brain, you won't actually change. So there's always something that you can do. Okay, change and transition. Okay, so all change must come from within ourselves. Yes, sometimes there are external sources that will make us forced to change. I have a good friend right now who she has lived in the same house for 5 years, and now the owner has decided to sell it. Okay, so that is a change that's forced else from outside. But guess what? I was just talking to her today, and she has found a better place without a bunch of, let's say, knots. Where she was staying before had a bunch of knots in it, and this one does not. And so that change, her landlord saying you're getting evicted so I can sell the house, was actually a blessing for her because it untangled all of those knots. But she did have to take the action, right? She had to take the action to move forward with it. Okay, so we can make those changes in our lives by taking responsibility for them. Okay, we must go within and find the power to save ourselves. And one of the things you'll hear me refer to a lot tonight is, what are you doing that no longer serves you? Okay, so we all do, human beings, everything we do serves us in some way, whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. So we need to start taking a look at what's no longer serving us. Even just today, so I've left like an extremely secure career in the education system, right, to go into full entrepreneurship with 3 different businesses, right, starting now. And I realized today, after listening to the guy that I found the other night, I just listened to his intro thing, and I realized that the reason I'm doing this is to become comfortable with uncertainty. Right? Like, I've been a very calculated, planned out person in my life. And as soon as I opened up to spirit to start making changes, you realize you got to release control. And that is hard for someone, especially when being in control has served me in the past. But I know that if I want to grow, I need to let go of that. And so that was just something I learned today. I'm in this transitional period where we're moving between the old and the new. To be honest, I've actually ditched a lot of the old and the new, right? It's funny, I have this website from my old biohacking business, and I've stripped it down, and I've been filling it in with my counseling practice and my mindset and manifestation coaching practice. And I remembered, I haven't touched that website in like 1.5 years, and I built it myself. And I have remembered almost everything on how to update, how to do things. I mean, all the infrastructure was there, obviously, but it has been really rewarding. I've also reached out to like 30 students, former students, asking them for testimonials about my counseling practice. And they, like, every response that I've gotten back has been extremely positive. I'll have 20 on there tomorrow. Like, it's amazing I feel really good about it. So this is a time then when you're ready to change, right? You've said enough is enough about, and it doesn't have to be about everything in your life, obviously. Pick one thing. Release old beliefs and old habits, and to begin learning and practicing, then living the things that we're working on. While the new beliefs and habits are getting in place, there's a lot of vacillation between the old and the new, right? So it can be angry or frustrated. Again, I have no income. Like, no income. That's not true. That's actually a terrible manifestation of things, right? I am manifesting all sorts of different streams of income, and that is not true even. I have like 5 or 6 streams of income. What I'm saying is I've let go of the salary. I have let go of my salary in favor of it. And it's very, occasionally I find myself kind of going back to a mindset of lack and being like, but what if, right? But I'm like, wait a second, no, you've got this, you've got that, you've got this, you've got that. Like, yeah. So we need to remember that whoa, that doesn't make sense. We're learning takes time. And that before we're really strong in that new belief. Again, I started meditating before I believed in the source energy or the power of the universe. Like, I started meditating because I was like, oh, this will be good for my mental health, and my friends are doing it, right? I don't know. And then it turns out it's the real deal, right? I talk a lot about this in my Manifestation 101 course, right? Wow, I give the story of how my belief was built through like very concrete examples of manifestation. But we're just not, in this case though, we're just not settled in the new habit yet. Like, I'm a full-on manifester now. Like oh man, the things, it's lots of stories, but no time for it right now. Okay, I have lots of Facebook lives in the about it in the Spirit Essence Academy. You can just search me there. Okay, so this is like a practice time. So like when you're trying to make a change, when you are making a change, because as Yoda says, there is no try, only do. Okay, so it's practice. So we just take little baby steps, but the important part is to keep moving forward. And you want to build yourself up, not beat yourself up along the way. Okay, so we're going to take what you already do, and then we're going to alter a little bit. And then and just by doing that, we alter the way we think just a little bit. Okay, but first you got to look around and like see what's actually there. This is that consciousness piece. Okay, at every moment, we have a choice that either leads you to closer to spirit or further away from it, right? And choice. I was talking with my friend Marty. Ooh, I'll be careful about this. And anyway, she was recently with a bunch of people who were like complaining about everything, super low vibration, and just very like complaining about everything. Everything's so expensive, inflation, blah, 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 blah. And they were acting like they had no choice, right? And she's like, yeah, you have choices. We have choices every single day. And so we make thousands of them a day from, anyways, yeah. So it is a very powerful and spiritual practice. So if you think of your choice as a gift, right, rather than something you have to do, that's a huge mindset shift just in and of itself. Okay, another, I am going to be the creator and shape my reality. All right, so this is more, again, manifestation style stuff, but I believe we are co-creators. Okay, so we are co-creators. We have free will, everybody does, but we also have the power of spirit behind us when we're connected and aligned. So there we go. We make thousands of choices every day, and some of them are behavioral, like what we eat. Like tonight, I had leftovers for dinner, and they were delicious, right? But I didn't have to cook anything new, so a winner. And it was not a chicken dinner; it was a beef burrito. But okay, where we're going, who to call, that kind of stuff. Okay, those are behavioral. Right? Some of them are emotional. How am I going to react to this situation? Right? Okay, for example, like if someone cuts you off in traffic, are you frustrated or do you just let it go? I'm a let it go kind of gal because there's no point. That's a whole other thing. Okay. So when we choose, we become the creator of our own internal universe that is connected to the greater outer universe, right? There's always an option for every choice that you make, okay? So I don't like donuts, but lots of people do, right? So say one of your choices, like say one of the things that you want to change is that you would like to feel more vital and healthy, okay? If you reach for the donut, right? You know it, you choose to eat anyways, right? You made a choice, right? Like you made a choice to feel unhealthier by doing that. And I'm not saying donuts are bad. I'm saying many donuts are not going to be healthy for you, right? So it looks like you're doing nothing often when you're making choices, but you actually are making choices when you choose to do nothing. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So, and that not choosing, right, or the illusion of not choosing has consequences. So we have to shift from noticing to consciously choosing. It's not enough that you're stuck. You actually have to choose to get unstuck. And the way we do that is by momentum. Okay, so step one. Decide what you really want, okay? So just pick one thing in your life. If you do a whole overhaul of yourself, you are going, it's not going to work. It's not going to be seamless. It's too much. Your brain cannot handle that, right? Because it's so, your brain gets comfortable, right? Like it's used to doing the same thing all the time. And when you start to stress it with change, if you do too much stress on it, it will fail. So if you're a smoker, maybe you want to be free of your dependency on nicotine. Do you want to make conscious choices around alcohol? Do you want to feel healthy and vital? Maybe you want to have great poops, right? And you know you need to eat more fruits and vegetables. Okay, so pick something, whatever it is. Maybe you would like to meditate more. Maybe, like, it doesn't matter. There's a whole bunch of things. Like pick one thing that you really, really want. And then we have to, whatever you focus on, this is something I learned very early on in my manifestation journey. Okay, whatever you focus on, you get more of. Okay, you'll hear this. I did not create this. You will hear this from many, many people, and it's because it is universal law. So never focus on things that you don't want. So many people will say things like, I don't want to be sick. Well, by talking about sickness, you're actually focusing on it. So instead, a really simple shift there is, I'm healthy. Like, that's it. Like, it's so crazy how this works. But then when you start to ditch the negative, right? Ditch the things that you don't want and only focus. It's a very subtle shift, but you'll find, like, I remember when I started tracking this kind of stuff, right? To see like how many things I was framing in the I don't want this, it was massive. And I was like, okay. And I started shifting my language in that way. Again, this is something I teach in the course. You shift your language, you shift your thoughts, and all of a sudden, and then your brain learns new patterns, right? So we change your language and repeat, repeat, repeat. And repetition is what's created the challenge. So repetition, the other direction is solution. Whether it's something that you've heard a lot in your life, right? Whether it could be to do with your intelligence or your charisma or whatever. If it's negative and you believe it, we need to focus on the opposite, right? And not saying I don't want to not be charismatic, just I am charismatic. Or but it also has to be something that you believe. So we want to start with things that that you know are true about yourself, even if you've been conditioned to feel differently. Okay, focus on where you want to go rather than what you fear. Okay, so secondary gains are things that you get that you don't want. Okay, consistently focus on the good. Okay, like ultimately, what we all really want is to have a good time, right? So I'm working a lot with, I'm starting to delve into like Akashic records right now and past lives, and it's really interesting. And the one thing I know to be true for myself is that I have been around this planet many times before. My soul has been here many times, and we get to keep, right? We get to keep the knowledge that we have from the previous life. And we only got one turn in this meat bag, right? Like you have this form for one time. And so I want to enjoy it as much as I can. And I don't want to lose anything, right? Like, so people say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. Do you really want to lose 10 pounds of muscle or bones or your brain? No, you want to lose 10 pounds of fat typically, but really what we want is to gain vitality, health, and energy. So I don't say I want to lose 10 pounds anymore. I just say I want to feel more healthy and vital. I want my clothes to fit the way I like it, like that kind of stuff. It's funny, I was a daily weigher, like get on the scale for like 3 years, every morning, same time, just to like measure it. And this week I decided to let go of that. And it's interesting because I like fitness. Anyways, it just doesn't serve me anymore. Right. So I'm like, I'm just going to go with how my clothes fit. I'm going to go with how I feel. As long as I know that I'm following, like I work out, I exercise like 5 times a week. I'm like, and like as long, anyways, so I'm like, just let it go, girl. I don't, and my scale, like I got on it like 4 times in 5 minutes and it gave me 5 different readings within 5 pounds. I'm like, how can I even rely on this? So yeah. Okay. In the past, your strategy probably required pain, like people, I'm quitting smoking, right? Or I'm quitting drinking, or I'm dieting. One of the words in diet is die, right? And pills, right? So we're in a constant flux of avoiding pain and gaining pleasure. People really only do things for 2 reasons. One is to avoid pain and the other is to gain pleasure. And when you really, really, really break it down. So we want to do things that for gaining pleasure rather than avoiding pain, right? But you also have to start having faith in yourself and the process because you can't see the future, right? Even though I feel connected to spirit every day, I'm not a fortune teller, and neither are psychics. They will tell you a lot, right? They're not fortune tellers. They're connected with spirit, and it's just a different feeling. Okay, step 2 is you get leverage and take that first step. Okay, so when you have leverage, you're making change a must, not a should. I say in therapy all the time, don't should on yourself, right? But when you need to make a change, right, it has to be a must. You have to decide. Deciding means cutting off all the other options. I will do this, right? Not I will do this maybe, right? So there has to be a decision on what you want to change. Okay, so I'll just use meditation again. After I started seeing the benefits of meditation, mostly in terms of how things were manifesting in my life, I was like, and just how good I was feeling, even with 15 minutes in the morning. I just set my alarm 15 minutes early, right? Like that's all I did. And like, I'm like, I can do without the 15 minutes of sleep. Like it's okay. And I started my day with that. And it's really great to meditate first thing in the morning because you get like you're still in that kind of a bit of a dream state, like your brain waves are still kind of loosey goosey. And that's the best time to absorb stuff into your subconscious. Okay, so making things a should. So I made a must. I made meditation a must. My kids, like they're 7 and 11, they sometimes meditate with me, which is great. But if they get up in the morning and that candle is lit and my headphones are in, they know not to say anything to me that I'll be done shortly, because it is such a part of who I am, like eating, drinking, breathing, sleeping, like meditation. Anyways, cannot, yeah. Okay, so what we do is when we create things to what we link pain and what we link pleasure to. So I link pleasure to meditation, right? And that helps create a new way of living rather than a temporary change. Okay, so leverage, if you think about what that truly actually means, is that you use something small to move something big. So meditation has been my leverage to move into my connection with spirit. Okay. Having failed in the past just meaning your strategy in the past wasn't effective. The past does not, capital N-O-T, dictate your future, right? If it did, the world wouldn't go anywhere, right? There has to be space for movement. So we need to make those changes as pleasurable as possible, or make the pain too much to stay stuck. Unfortunately, most people will not make those changes until the pain is too much to stay stuck, where your doctor says, quit smoking or you're gonna die. You've got 10% liver function because you've been drinking too much, like you've been overweight for so long that you're having major mobility issues, right? Like the pain is often the main way. And unfortunately, with a lot of people, once they get to the point where the pain is too much and or they've been told bad news by their doctor or whatever, right? Sometimes it's too late. But I would say it's never too late to start making those changes, right? So we have to decide what the first step will be. Okay, so one day sober, right? That's how AA works, right? One day at a time. Okay, if you want to exercise, I'll tell you right now, my biggest hurdle when it comes to exercise is putting on the clothes, lacing up my shoes. Once I am in the shoes and in the clothes, I will work out. So I know that half an hour before I have planned to work out, what I do is I put on my clothes then, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm already dressed, I may as well go, right? And sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna walk on the treadmill for half an hour, right? Or sometimes I'm just gonna, whatever, doesn't matter. Updating your resume, right? Are you thinking about a career change, right? A lot of people are. I just updated my resume for the first time in 12 years this week because I need it for my certification with the Canadian Counseling and Psychotherapy Association. But if you're thinking about changing jobs, you just update your resume. That's the first step, right? And it will start to create the momentum for you to maybe like go on LinkedIn, maybe go on some websites, maybe see what's out there, maybe enroll in a class. It's all about the first step. Without that first step, you cannot get any momentum, right? And it doesn't have to be one. Maybe your first step is just putting on the fitness clothes, but not actually working out. Maybe just wear them around a house for a little while and then you get changed, right? This is exposure therapy, by the way, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Baby steps to gaining momentum so that you can live the life that you want to. Okay, interrupting patterns. We need to interrupt limiting patterns. You can't put something new in something that's already there. I talk about this a lot. We have to make space. And if there's already, let's say, you spend a lot of time on social media, okay? And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, let's say you spend 3 hours a day on social media, which a lot of people do. I think the average person spends like 4 or 5, right? Okay. If you were to take 1 hour of social media time out and put it into something else, you have now released 1 hour of space to do things. Okay. If you are a person that sleeps 12 hours a day, or just whatever, there's lots of things that we could be doing, right? Or watching TV, watching Netflix, that kind of stuff. You need to start thinking about, like, where do you spend your time and what could you be putting into that space? Patterns are ingrained in us. Remember, our brain loves what it already knows. Okay, so we've practiced them for so long, those patterns, that our brain is pretty stuck in them. However, our brain, when you add something new, it goes, whoo, whoo, hello, what's this, right? So in order to create a new pattern, we have to interrupt the old one and continue to do so over and over and over again. So interruptions need to be different than those in the past. Remember, the past, if something didn't work in the past, you shouldn't do it again. Okay. They should be seemingly outrageous or fun and scramble the brain's old pattern. Okay. Then we need to teach the brain something else, or it will go back to the old pattern if you don't. So it must be something you enjoy or a reward. So for example, I pay myself $10 a day for not drinking alcohol, and then that goes towards paying for my cleaner to come from my house, right? So if you go to my website, like my Facebook, I love wine, and I do lots of recommendations about it, that kind of stuff. And but I don't want to drink it every day. Okay. And there have been times in my life where I did. So I'm like, okay, so I take a look at what I do, and I'm like, okay, I want to find balance. Anyway, so this is something that works for me. And then I reward myself. So find yourself. I have a friend who, when she quit smoking, for every week that she didn't smoke, she bought herself a new pair of shoes, right? Because it was about the same amount, right? And then she felt like something was happening for her, rather than struggling through, so that she could like struggle through the pain, because quitting smoking is very, very hard. And she's still not smoking. I'm very, very proud of her, but I believe her shoe habit has also died down. She's figured out other things to do, right? So any behavior that's constantly reinforced will eventually become a conditioned pattern or habit, right? So this is what you see when people are like, they exercise all the time as part of their routine, or maybe they've decided to become a vegetarian and they stuck with it, right? So there's just a bunch of different things. So the new choices then become your lifestyle. This is how lifestyles come to be, right? Is that you make choices, they get reinforced, right? And then they become a lifestyle, right? A belief, oh, I love beliefs, okay? It's just a thought that you think over and over and over again. And if you don't use that old pattern, your brain will forget it through our friend neuroplasticity. This is why counseling works. Okay, so if you have a good counselor, because I'm a very good counselor, right? But if you have a good counselor, or even a really great friend or family member that can, that can help you with breaking patterns, a lot of the reason people see counselors is to break patterns, and then neuroplasticity takes over, and all of a sudden you have a new pattern that serves you better where you are in your life now. So we condition ourselves mentally by rehearsing the new pattern. When neurons in our brain fire together, they wire together, making new connections and patterns. Oh, I don't know what happened at step 5, but there we are. Step 6, putting it to the test. Okay, there's lots of temptations out there, right? I succumb to them. Everybody does, but I don't beat myself up about it. But I recognize it as a choice. I am choosing to do this, right? So you're shifting your identity, for example, moving from I'm a smoker to I'm a non-smoker, right? Or I don't even like the word non-smoker because it still has the word smoke in it, right? Anyways, but you're not just changing a few habits. People who try to do too many things, like I said at the beginning, at once, set themselves up for failure. And most people know what to do, right? We know that we should have at least 50% fresh fruits and vegetables, right? We know we should not, smoke cigarettes, like all these things, right? Like we know we shouldn't drink a bottle of wine every day, right? But a lot of people make the choice not to, right? It's still a choice, even if you're making the choice not to. So we need to remember, focus on what you desire, what you want, consistently produce lasting results. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten, right? Like that is a universal law. Whew, okay, moving on. I think we're gonna wrap up early, maybe like 10, 15 minutes, which is amazing because I usually go long. Okay, our core beliefs, right? So we have a couple of different types of beliefs. We have beliefs about ourselves that are core, and then we have core beliefs about the world around us, right? So your core beliefs are I am, right? So core beliefs are actually myths, especially around habits, right? So a myth is kind of a story that's made up to explain something, right? I'm older now, so I can't lose weight. My parents drank a lot while I was growing up, so I drink too. I can't exercise because I have a chronic illness. My partner so I can't keep. These are myths that we tell ourselves around certain habits that we may have. Okay, so one of the first things we need to do to facilitate change is up level our standards, right? Just because your partner smokes doesn't mean that you have to too. I do know several people who have quit smoking even when their partner didn't, and because they up leveled their standards, right? We can retrain our bodies and minds to a higher standard of what's acceptable. So if you take a look around at who's in your circle, I'll use smoking again, just because, right? If everybody's smoking, that's the standard, right? So I'm not saying ditch your friends, but it might be helpful to start hanging out with some other people who don't smoke. Or let's say that you love cycling, right? You love cycling. Find some other people who love cycling. And then because you know that is good for you, it's healthy, it's a great way to make connection, it's a great way to see the city, it's much better than driving, okay? Right? So poor eating habits and a sedentary lifestyle are habits that can be unlearned. And unfortunately, these myths are belief systems that do control our lives. So start taking a look at like, what do you believe, right? Like take it, and again, you'll get the recording of this, but like just pick one area of your life and be like, what are my belief systems around that? Oh, why don't we do an activity? Again, you can do this later. We won't do it together now just because to save time or whatever, but we're going to do something called the mixed feelings activity. Okay. You take out a piece of paper and on the right, write out all the empowering beliefs about your power to change permanently. Again, pick one thing. For example, I know if I commit to it, I can do it. I know if I eat less junk, I'll feel better. Oh, yeah. I have a little habit sometimes of eating food well after dinner, and I wake up and I have restless leg syndrome, okay? And carbohydrates after 8 p.m. make my legs go crazy, and I take a medication at 8 p.m. to make sure that I have it pretty severely, right? Much bigger than like a jiggly leg. Like I literally wouldn't sleep without my meds. And so, but if I decide to eat a whole bunch of ice cream and crackers or whatever, my legs will be uncomfortable until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. But sometimes I convince myself to do it, right? And then this happened the other night and I was up and I was like, why? And I can't do anything about it, right? So why did I do this to myself? So I didn't do it last night and I won't do it tonight, right? So it's interesting, but I recognize that as a change and be like, okay, I remember how that felt for me. And so now I don't want to, right? Like, so it's a conscious, right? Rather than a subconscious, unconscious thing. Okay, on the left, you'll write all the mixed emotions that you have about it. My metabolism, okay, I'll use my own example again. Like, but I deserve ice cream because I ran 5 kilometers today. Like I have really great ways of convincing myself, especially after a couple of glasses of wine. I will be very convinced that I am in the right and in my righteousness to eat these carbs and stuff that will make me feel uncomfortable, right? So yeah, anyways, I don't have time to exercise. I've never done it before. Okay, and then we see when you look at these beliefs, which messages are mixed. Unfortunately, and you cannot serve 2 different masters. You have to pick one of them. And you have to understand that when you pick one of them, regardless of the one or the other, you're making a choice. Okay, reference experiences. Oh, when I first learned about this, I was like, I get it. Okay. A belief, again, is nothing but a true feeling of certainty. Certainty is built on referenced experiences. Okay. So I know for a fact that I'm an intelligent person, okay? And I have so many reference experiences for this that if someone was to tell me that I'm stupid, I would just laugh at them and be like, no, right? Like I have so much confidence in that because of my referenced experiences. So in school, I did well on a test. Someone told me I was clever. I solved a problem at work. There's so many, many, many things. Like, so if you're an athletic person and you've been told you're athletic your whole life, it's something that you believe. If you're charismatic, right? You are good with people, right? And people, or you're fun, people laugh at your jokes. Like when someone laughs at a joke or something that you say in a positive way, that's a referenced experience that you're funny, okay? This next one is not true of me at all. Okay, so I'm good at playing guitar. One of my beliefs about myself is that I'm not particularly musical. I could probably change that. No, I could. Neuroplasticity proves that I could change that. However, I haven't taken any steps to change it. But if someone is good at playing the guitar, their reference experiences are they practiced and made it into a band. Others applaud when you play, or people to play you play, right? Like someone else says, or you just have this feeling inside that you're good at playing guitar, okay? Okay, so we can apply reference experiences to habit change. Again, the past does not equal the future. What you choose today changes today, and then it changes tomorrow, right? We can't change the past, but we can change everything about what's gonna happen next. Don't tell yourself lies about what you can or can't do, right? A lot of people do, right? So seeing other people succeed can also build certainty through reference experiences. You're like, oh, if she can do that, I can do it. Or if he can do it, I can, right? And so this is why it's helpful to connect with people who have made the changes that you're looking to do. This is part of why support groups are really, really good, right? Oh, one of the best things that you can say to anybody to make them feel better is me too, right? Me too. I've been there. But look, but this is how I got out of it, or this is how I changed, right? So very, very positive to see other people's reference experiences so that you can then change your own. And we certainly do create certainty about failure or success. Okay, so creating a vision. You must have a sense of vision and hope and know that you are the source of it, okay? Also, the co-creator, right? So you're the source, but also your source is the source. And the alignment with source is where the real magic happens. You can do it on your own. I did it on my own for 44 years, no, 43 years. I had no interest in spirit. I was an atheist from age 12 to 25. And then I was agnostic from 25 to 43, right? Agnostic, because I just kind of wanted to hedge my bets in the afterlife, okay? Because I had a vision of, I don't know, I was like, well, maybe there's something out there. Now I am so certain, okay? I have such a vision, so certain because of the things that have happened in my life and the blessings that I've had in the last 2 years, right? So prove to yourself that you're someone different today. We talk a lot about visioning, right? I call mine, we make a manifestation board, but we do it in a very different way than what people are used to in Manifestation 101, right? But create a vision or feeling as to what you want to achieve, right? Again, I've said a lot of things here in the negative. No smoker, Scott. No waking up thirsty. If I drink a bottle of wine, I wake up thirsty. Okay. I'm hungover. I know it's a lot. Okay. Or walking up a flight of stairs without getting winded. Your brain can't distinguish the difference between fantasy and reality during visualization. I'm not a super visual person. As I with my mediumship development, I'm very clairaudient and I'm clairsentient, but I am not yet very clairvoyant. So I used to get really stuck on visualization because I'd be like, but I'm not seeing anything, right? And I realized it's actually not about that. Like having the feeling is more important. And this is why guided, like when you find people that are good guided, like you spin the wheel and you try a few people out, what they're saying helps you get that feeling. And I know as soon as I get that vibrating, floaty feeling in meditation, which I get almost every time, often now within like a minute or two, right? Just because of practice, right? There's no perfection in meditation. It's always practice, 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 just like yoga. Okay, so the same thing happens when we're dreaming, right? Your brain doesn't distinguish between fantasy and reality during dreaming either. Okay, This one's a bit harsh, okay, but it may be helpful to some of you, okay? Breaking through those limiting beliefs, another activity. What's the price you're going to change for not changing your limiting beliefs? On the left side of the paper, write out all the consequences of not changing this habit from tomorrow and well into the future. If you don't make the changes you need to, what will happen? Okay, like, and you most people know already, right? They know what will happen if they don't quit smoking. I was at a celebration of life on Saturday for my friend's dad, and there was about 100 people there, and there was like 10 guys in their 60s, 70s with voice boxes from smoking. Like they all have throat cancer because they smoked the whole, like when they're younger. And so like, we don't want us to envision ourselves that way, but that was a real like, holy crap, like, I'll bet you wish you didn't smoke, right? But unfortunately they didn't, well, they were probably told 20 years ago to stop smoking, right? So if you don't make this is a stark example, but it's a good one, right? Because like one guy, he couldn't even give the eulogy, right, to his best friend. His son had to do it because he couldn't talk, right? And I could tell that he wanted to so desperately. So yeah, anyways. So on the right side of the paper, write all the benefits if you do make the changes, right? And be honest, if your whole life was on the line, could you make these changes? Could you get to a point of health and vitality, right? Could you get help for anything going on with your mental health? I haven't talked about mental health that much, but because it's just a bit easier to talk about physical health. I do want to reduce the stigma around it, obviously, right? So, and then, right, where else in your life have you made changes that worked out, right? I got out of 50 grand out of debt before. I could do it again, right? No problem is ever permanent, right? Yeah, we can break through by questioning our limiting beliefs. And behavior changes, okay? So our beliefs then influence our behaviors. So we have to interrupt those patterns of urges. The neurological pathways get broken up. Remember, if you don't lose them, you lose them. So when we get stressed, we need to reach for something other than the habit, okay? So something that is distraction. Have you ever noticed like you're all like worked up about something, and then like maybe a friend will call you or get a text, or something happens, or your kids say something funny and it breaks you out of your state, and all of a sudden you're just not angry anymore, right? Or you're like sitting on the couch and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry, right? And then something else distracts you, right? The doorbell goes, and then you whatever, and then you're there, and then you come back and you're like, and you're not really hungry, right? So stopping patterns by noticing even the most minute progress, right? So let's say, like me, it's like let's say last night, well, let's be real, okay, a couple nights ago, I had like a bowl of ice cream like at 8:30, and then I ate a bunch of Ritz crackers, and then I found something else. If I had just stopped with the ice cream, that would be a minute progress, right? Does that make sense, right? Like, it's like I would congratulate myself for being like, oh, I had the ice cream and that was enough, right? That is progress, and noticing those is important. Become aware of when, why, and how you reach for your habit. And the more aware you are of the pattern, that in and of itself starts to break down the pattern. Okay, and then we want to identify a secondary reward. So when I used to smoke, right? I used to smoke cigarettes from like age, I actually made it through like my teens, right? So it was like 19, I started, but anyways, and for about 5 years, right? And some of it, I worked in service. And like, it was a rule, an unwritten rule in waitressing, serving, that if you didn't have a cigarette in your hand, you couldn't take a break. So part of it was like, I took a break. So I smoked so I could take a break at work, right? Some people stay overweight so that men don't harass them, right? That's a huge secondary reward for a lot of people. And I've seen it in some people that I know, right? Or I was hurt in my last relationship and I don't want to get hurt again. So I'll just stay in a place where I feel unattractive, whatever that is for you, right? And so then I don't get hurt again. Like this is, I mean, it's really real. Do I drink so I can hang out with my friends, right? Do you have a regular Friday beer night or wine night or whatever? And if you're enjoying it, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But if it's a pattern you want to break, you'd be like, can I hang out with my friends in other ways? The more you are aware of the pattern, that in and of itself starts to break the pattern, right? So much about spirituality in general is taking the unconscious and the subconscious and moving it into the conscious. This is why we call it consciousness. Okay. So remember, your awareness and consciousness is progress. When you're no longer unconscious, you can start to control what's going on, right? Catch yourself doing things right. We are so quick to beat ourselves up when things go wrong. But when you catch yourself doing things right and congratulate yourself, that will create some endorphins and start to rewire for you, right? Each day, think about new ways to measure your progress. Did I drink more water? Did I make my step goals for the day? Not today, not yesterday, but I did work out yesterday, so that's okay. Did I make one different choice? Did I log my food intake on my app? Oh gosh, I haven't done that for like 2 months. But like, anyways, it doesn't matter. I don't feel guilty about it. I made good food choices today, right? Right. So, but think about new ways to measure this and then visualize how you'll feel by having one victory every day. All right, changing your focus. Being the conscious is hot. Well, I love it though. We've been waiting for this. Be the conscious co-creator of your life, right? Write a whole list of things you can reward yourself with that aren't your habit. What can you do instead, right? Create a menu, right? That helps interrupt the pattern. We can use urge crunchers. This is kind of gross, but you never know what's going to work with what people. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks here, right? Okay, so use urge crunchers to break your state. You can envision dipping your chips in wet dog food, adding milk to your beer, or sucking in exhaust from a diesel engine. Our brains are pretty spectacular about this kind of stuff. My kids watch this show. Oh, I watch it too, called Brainchild. It's on Netflix, and they did an episode on like the senses, and they did a section on disgust, right? And so they did a thing with kids where they showed them, they brought out a pizza, right? And it was covered in fake mold, right? And they were like, hey, everybody, we're gonna have pizza, sweet. And was like, yes. And they opened it. So it wasn't dangerous or whatever. And they had covered it in fake mold. And they took one look at it and went, no. And they're like, but it's not real. They're like, I'm not touching that. It's like an instinctive thing that we have discussed. So if you really want to urge crunch, find something, a way to disgust yourself with your habit, right? Learn to smile for no good reason to improve your mood. Oh man, that's a top tip. Smiling for no reason will get you a lot. Well, there's so many things about raising endorphins and your dopamine and all that kind of stuff, right? And don't play rationalization games like I still do sometimes, but again, I'm aware of them, right? I'll start again tomorrow. Only have a little bit, right? So we don't want that. Ask yourself questions that will break the pattern. What will it cost me if I eat this? What do I have to give up to eat, drink, or smoke this stuff, or to sit on the couch, or to spend 4 hours on social media, or whatever it is, right? If I was being honest with myself, what would this really do to my body? Is this what I would do if I was being my highest and best self? I did a meditation yesterday where I met my higher self. Oh my God. It was quite a trip, right? And yeah, it's interesting. They're this like non-binary 7 foot tall, like kind of nebulous, like human shape. It was just crazy. Anyways, oh, I love this journey. Okay. If I do this, what am I saying about my own commitment to myself? And what am I showing my children? Okay. I remember when I was in the height of my wine consumption, and it was indeed during quarantine, like many of us. And my birthday was during quarantine, and my partner asked my kids, what should we get mom for her birthday? And my youngest, who was like 5 at the time, said, why don't we get her what she really loves, some wine? And I was like, oh my God, right? And then my first thought was, I need to start drinking out of like a mug. Like that was my go-to, not girl, stop drinking boxed wine, right? Like it was like, which is true. It's funny, my next my New Year's goal, resolution, I don't know, whatever. My outcomes that I wanted, I was like, no more boxed wine starting 2021. And actually it's now, I think I bought 1 box of wine in that whole time because I was like, nope. And then ask the pleasurable ones. How do I really want to feel? What would be good for me and my body? How can I reward myself? That's not my habit. And a quick strategy, right? Change your state now by deep breathing and moving. The power of our breath is incredible. We hear it so much, right? Every meditation that I do, as long as it's a good one, is starts with several things of deep breathing, just to change. And what it does is just changes your state. I'm always jazzed after doing presentations like this, right? Like I'll be up late, but I will do some deep breathing to start to change my state. Drink some water. Mhm. Oh my gosh, that's the end. I feel like that kind of got cut short off. But I adapted these things from Soul Shifts from Dr. Barbara DeAngelis, which is a book that I listen to. And I can't like audio. I'm often so tired at the end of the night now. My eyes are still good, but I just want to listen to something. I listen to Soul Shifts, and it is wonderful. It is all about moving away from being like a thinking being into being a vibrational being. And wow, I learned a lot from that. Also transition from Louise Hay and The Body You Deserve from Tony Robbins. Okay, I think that's it. I will stop my share. I will stop the recording, and we'll have